today what we will do, we'll discuss, we'll start the charge management topic. And typically in charge management, we'll discuss the entire hierarchy of the charge calculation part. So typically it consists of the scales and rate table, charge type, calculation, all that, calculation sheet, freight agreements. So these are the typical building blocks of the charge calculation. Typically, let's say, similarly, the ones like you have in as well as it's the pricing schema and pricing procedure, what you have in and SD. So the concept is similar, but there is there is a variation in terms of the context. There's a contextual variation. The philosophy is the same in the sense determining of the rate into the freight order. So that remains, but the building blocks are slightly different. So we will check each of them and see how they are connected, and then we'll look at certain other topics in the charge calculation, and then move on to the charge settlement. So today what we will do, we'll understand the architecture of this charge calculation. We'll try to understand the architecture part, and then we'll proceed with the scales. We'll take up scales to start with, try to understand what these scales are, what are the dimensions of these scales, and so on and so forth. We'll see in the system how these scales are depicted, and then maybe we'll just have an overview of rate table today, and tomorrow we will discuss the rate table making. How do we create a rate table by itself, and then how do we maintain the charge type and calculation sheet, and then of course freight agreement, that we will do it tomorrow or day after. So in these 3 days we'll try to complete until the freight agreement, 2 days or 3 days or whatever. So where are we actually today? So if you see this, we have been discussing the request management topic, and then we moved on to the transportation planning, and then freight order and all that stuff. And now we are in that last block, the billing part. So it consists of 2 elements. The one which we are going to discuss today is going to be scales, rates, and all that stuff. On the left hand side, it comprises of, it's called as charge management, transportation charge management. That's what we will initiate, and then we will go on to the next part of it, the freight settlement document, and then the accounting document. That will be the subsequent one. So this is
I have
where
one
we are.
questions. I have one questions here.
Yeah.
That request management and then transportation planning, subcontracting, executions, all that topic has been covered already.
Yeah, we have covered in the last sessions.
Okay,
you have those recordings, right?
I don't have that. I today only I have joined. Can I get those?
Yeah, of course. You'll get all those. You'll have all those recordings. You can check with Bhupinder or Aman, one of them. Maybe they will help you.
Sure.
Yeah. So you will have access to all those topics which have been covered. So you can access the presentations as well as the recordings. You can go through them. Okay. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can go through them. You don't have to worry about that part. So today, as we will start the billing, so you don't have to. Just go along with what we are discussing. Okay. And are you from SAP background, or like SD or any other module, or you are
I am SD consultant.
Then no problem. Then okay, no issues. So no problem. Then that's fine. Okay. Don't worry. Okay. So now let us understand what's happening here. Look at this slide. if you see the slide, there are three different sections. On the very left-hand section, you will find SD part, our ERP, ECC, SD part. On the very right-hand side, you will see MM part, right? And in the middle, you will find SAP TM, right? So let us first understand the SD part. So what's happening in SD? So in SD, if you if you understand, the SD will have the customer invoice, like the billing document, the F1, F2 billing document type with which we generate, we create the invoice and then the accounting documents and all that stuff, right? So that is what is depicted on the very left-hand side. Okay. Now this particular slide is related to the standalone TM system. Okay, in standalone TM, as you know, it has an integration with ERP. This is an integration with ERP, right? So this is PI integration. Okay, so this is what it is. In embedded system, obviously this integration will not be there, but all will be in one box. Okay, that's the only difference. So so in this case, what is happening, integration with FICO, wherein you have the account determination, which will happen, the revenue account determination will happen, and then the billing documents get created, and then you post to the accounting. So all those things are happening. But this is from the customer invoice perspective. That means the product, this invoice is for the product which the customer has purchased, whereas this the one which is on the very right side is for the transportation service, what you have availed to have this particular product reach to the customer. This customer invoice is for the product, and this is to the carrier, who is the paying to the carrier, who is transporting your product to the customer. So in the MM, TCM integration will be to generate the purchase order and the service entry. This is service purchase order. This purchase order is classified from a service perspective, and service entry sheet, which basically has a list of all those services which you can avail, to procure. And then the purchase order is to support, is a support document based on which you will have to settle the customer's invoice. So customer's invoice is necessary to settle with the customer invoice is required to do the invoice verification based on the purchase order. Right. So this is that integration part, and this is for the. So even here too, you'll have integration with FICO, account determination, approvals, and all that kind of stuff. That said, we have a larger part of SAP TM. So what does this say actually? So in the center, we have something called charge request, calculate charge request. So now this talks about, from which are all the sources from which charges could be calculated. That's all. So in our case, we are talking about freight order. It could be forwarding order. It could be freight booking. It could be transportation request, forwarding settlement, or any of these sources will require to have charges calculated. Okay. So that said, most important aspect, what happens within the transportation charge calculation